Mauricio Pochettino and Tottenham are in a bit of a crisis. The stadium's been put on hold, Harry Kane looks tired, their captain and goalkeeper Hugo Lloris is drunk, and also they're feeling the effects of not strengthening during the transfer window. So what can they do to get back to winning ways in the next few games? Well, here's a potential 11 which may just help them sort themselves out. We start in goal, where unfortunately Hugo Lloris is not available for the next few weeks after an apparent hamstring injury. Now, this is oddly coinciding with the fact that he's just been banned for 20 months for drink driving. To me, it seems like he's either been suspended in-house by Tottenham or maybe attending some sort of short rehab session. Anyway, he won't be starting in goal, so I think they should be going with Paulo Gazzaniga. Now, the reason for this is that Michel Vorm has stepped in over the last few games and has looked less than convincing figure in net. For example, during the Liverpool game, he failed to clear a corner which led to the opening goal, and against Inter Milan, he was hardly on his best form, although Mauro Icardi did score a banging goal, to be fair to him. So for that reason, it's the Argentine Gazzaniga who'll start in goal. Into the defence, at right back is Kieran Trippier. He's one of those players who was left out by Mauricio Pochettino for the defeat to Inter Milan, and basically the whole media went nuts and said, how can you not play him alongside Toby Alderweireld? Well, to be honest, Trippier is definitely the better right back option. Aurier had a decent game and provides a good option going forward, however his final ball is nothing compared to that of Kieran Trippier, and also defensively he's a bit suspect. And alongside him, firstly, we're going to go with Toby Alderweireld. As mentioned before, he also wasn't picked for the Inter Milan game, and after a summer full of rumours that he might be moving to Manchester United, Alderweireld has slotted back into the first team pretty well and showed what a class defender he is. Now, alongside him can be one or two players depending on which formation Spurs play. However, I think they should be going with a back four, so there's only going to be one centre-back alongside him, and of course, it has to be Jan Vertonghen. The Belgian pairing are fantastic at club and international level, and with Jan Vertonghen being the club's player of the season last season and probably the best centre-back in the league for the last few years, it's a no-brainer to put him in. Youngster Davinson Sanchez had a fantastic season at Tottenham, however he doesn't quite compare to the other two and can be often seen making quite rash decisions. He needs to grow a bit, but that comes with age. In the left-back spot, it's Danny Rose. Now, he has had his critics over the last few years, and injuries and the public spat with the manager haven't helped his cause. However, when he's on form, he is a top player and has recently seen himself back in the England squad. Ben Davies has been pretty good over the last year and a half, but really doesn't come close to what Rose can offer on that left-hand side. So with that said, that is our back four completed. Now moving into the midfield, and this is where things become a bit more difficult. Do you have your attacking players sitting deeper to create stuff? Or do you have midfield enforcers breaking up the play? Well, when it comes to Spurs, they usually dominate most games unless they're away from home against a pretty big team where they go counter-attacking. So I'm not sure there's room for all the brutal enforcers in the midfield. First up, we have Moussa Dembele, one of the most technically gifted and best dribblers in the league. However, his fitness always seems to fail him. He very rarely makes it past the hour mark in any game, but when you've got someone like him in the squad, it's a pretty good option to play him. Alongside him has been Eric Dier in the last few weeks, but by name and by nature, his performances have been pretty dire. Maybe it's a lack of concentration, but his passing over the last few games has been absolutely dreadful. And when Spurs are dominating possession and need to have those key passes to unlock defences, Dier definitely isn't your man. If you're looking for someone to break up the play and be a robust midfielder, yes. But when it comes to playing some of the lesser teams, as mentioned before, he doesn't quite cut it, so he's going to be out. Alongside Dembele, I think, should be Christian Eriksen. The guy is an absolute brilliant passer. He's got the vision, the technique and the accuracy to play short and long passes to the forwards. With him sitting in a deeper role, it gives the others more chance to get forward and more probability of being picked out. There is a case to say that Harry Winks could be in that role as well, but again, having just come back from a year's layoff with injury and still being quite young and inexperienced, I'm not quite sure he's ready for all of the first team action. He plays the odd game here and there and he does brilliantly, but when you've got the likes of Dembele and Eriksen ahead of him, he's going to find it tough to break into the first team for the next year or so. As for Moussa Sissoko, well, for those of you who watch the channel regularly, good God, that man should not be starting or be anywhere near the pitch. Thankfully, he's injured for the trip to Brighton at the weekend and probably won't be in the Spurs shirt anytime soon. So with that base in the midfield of Dembele and Eriksen, we move forward to the three attackers in this 4-2-3-1 formation. And this, I feel, is where Spurs are really feeling the strain of having not signed any backups in the summer. On the left wing is Heung-min Son. He's recently dodged doing military service for South Korea by winning a gold medal at the Olympic Games, and his return to Tottenham has been welcomed by fans and players alike. He's a real handful of energy, he's got blistering pace and incredible skill with both feet, and he's definitely good for a goal or 10 over the season. With him slotting on the left side, it's Lucas Moura on the right hand side. After initially struggling to get into the team after signing in January, he looks to have adapted to the Premier League now and started this Premier League season on absolute fire. Again, much like Son on the other side, he's got incredible pace, lightning quick feet, and is good for a goal or two. In the number 10 role is Dele Alli. He's been fantastic over the last 2 seasons and scored more goals and assists than any other midfielder since his debut 3 and a bit years ago. His link-up play with Kane in that number 10 role is fantastic, and he can also bring in the likes of Eriksen from behind him and the likes of Son and Moura on either side. However, this front 3 is where Spurs really suffer when they didn't sign anybody. Georges-Kevin Nkudu went on loan to Burnley in January and really didn't do much, to be honest, and his attitude is something that Mauricio Pochettino has brought up every so often in press conferences. With him not really doing much but running around and failing to put in a good final ball, he's not going to get anywhere near the first team. Pochettino thinks that little of Nkudu that he's not even in the Champions League 25-man squad. But for the rest of attacking midfield, there's not really anyone else. As I said before, Sissoko could be pushed forward, but he's better off not in the Spurs shirt. Christian Eriksen has been playing in that role, but again, could fill in a deeper one. As for the pace of Lamela, well, there is none. As for the energy, he's got loads, but great, so do loads of players. Eric Lamela is one of these incredibly frustrating players who, for some reason, only has one foot. He literally has a left foot, and that is it. His right foot is used for walking, running and standing, but he cannot play football with it. For me, when you're a professional footballer, this makes no sense whatsoever. Imagine he's got a killer chance in his right foot and he says, sorry, I can't really use my right foot. That's pretty embarrassing. That's like Serena Williams or Roger Federer saying, sorry, I only do forehand, I can't do backhand. Ridiculous. That brings us on to the final position in this team. Up front, where of course it's going to be Harry Kane. I don't even know why I'm going to tease the intro anymore, because you know it will be. Let's face it, Vincent Janssen's not even in the squad, he's training with the reserves, and Fernando Llorente was pretty good for Swansea, but is nowhere near the level of Harry Kane. This puts some incredible pressure on England's front man. Not only does he play every single game for Spurs, he also captains and plays most games for England as well. I think I read somewhere that Harry Kane's had 1 summer off in the last 6 years. Somewhere between all the England youth level tournaments, the England full national level tournaments, and all the seasons that he's been playing every single game at Spurs, he looks pretty tired, to be honest, despite the fact he's come out and said that he feels fitter and fresher than ever. It was clear during the World Cup in Russia that he faded towards the end and could do with a really long break. However, he returned to Spurs training just a week before the season kicked off. Yes, he scored 2 this season, but by his high standards, that's not really enough. The problem for Spurs is they don't have a backup. I can see how this is a difficult area to approach in the transfer market. When looking for a backup for Harry Kane, he needs to be A, good enough to replace Kane, but if he's good enough to replace Kane, he's going to cost a lot. And are you really going to pay 50 or 60 million for a bench warmer? And lastly, is a bench warmer who's good enough to be Harry Kane, who costs 50 or 60 million, who's probably on 100k a week, going to be happy to come to Spurs knowing that he's going to be on the bench and hoping to get a game on the off chance that Harry Kane has an off game or gets injured? Seems highly unlikely. The likes of Anthony Martial are rumoured to join in the summer, but again, he wants to play football, that's why he's leaving Manchester United. So offering him a place on the bench behind Kane is just basically doing the exact same thing, and he's not going to join for that. So there you have it, my 4-2-3-1 formation, a potential starting 11 as to how Spurs can get out of this rut and get back into the top 4. It looks like challenging for the title may be one step too far for this season, but the Champions League is a must when they'll hopefully move into their stadium next year. That's all from me for now. Make sure you smash the like button down below and let me know in the comments section who you'd have in this team. Would you go with Eriksen in a deep lying position? Would you have Ben Davies instead of Danny Rose? And would you give Harry Kane a break altogether? Let me know, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.